There comes a time in the life of all content creators worth their salt on this godforsaken website where they look back and reflect on all that they've created, all that they've achieved, all the lives they've touched. And in this pensive state, they begin to panic. Because the thought occurs to them that perhaps this is it. Perhaps they will be stuck forever following in the footsteps of who they were as an idiot fucking teenager. So, as an idiot fucking adult, rather than just, getting over it and being happy with their incredible lot in life, they opt for a little maneuver we call a pivot. Still Lost is a satirical science fiction linked short story collection, with each story beyond the first taking place in the same version of America during the subtitular year of 2080. I've been working on it for a few years, on and off, far and away the longest and hardest I've ever worked on any singular project. And it's, what are some adjectives? It's goofy, it's offbeat, it's absurd, it's occasionally philosophical, though I hope it doesn't overstay its welcome in that regard. And, don't know if it's any good. I think it's decent, I think, whereas it won't be winning any Hugos, it is still something I would read in my own spare time, and enjoy, and not feel as though my time were entirely wasted by the end. Of course, as the author and sole member of the target audience, I'm a bit biased. To paraphrase Randy Feldface, I may be the mother of a real piece of shit baby here. My beta readers seem pretty receptive. We have some glowing recommendations from them, plastered on the back here, if you can read that. But, I paid them, didn't I? So, they could only be so cruel. They had a financial incentive not to crush my dreams entirely. But you, dear viewer, are under no such obligation, so here's what I'd like to ask. If you are someone who enjoys reading science fiction, or even fiction in general, I would be honored if you gave it a shot. It is available right this second on Amazon, link in the description. It is $4 for the ebook, $12 for the paperback. I would personally recommend the print edition, and I promise that's not just because it's more expensive. I get kind of experimental with the formatting at times. I want the words to look a very specific way on the page. As a consequence, the ebook is what we call a print replica. It looks exactly like the book, which if you're on desktop, you just want the PDF, no problem, go grab it. I just cannot guarantee an optimal reading experience on every version of Kindle. The words don't reflow, so you might have to zoom in and go like this and yeah. But anyway, whatever your preferred medium is, check it out, as long as it's not audiobook, because I want that done right. I don't know if anybody gives a shit yet. Give it a try, and if it's shit, return it. Seriously, return it and write me a big old diatribe on Amazon or Goodreads or wherever else, elucidating all the reasons you believe it is shit, and I will take maybe 5% of it into serious consideration, and I will use that to make another written work, which is ideally a bit less shit. So there's your call to action. If you're somebody who likes to go into things completely blind, that instinct will serve you well here. In just a sec, I'm going to yap for a little bit about the world of Still Lost and the general premise of each story. Nothing super spoilery, just kind of like trailer content for those of you still on the fence. That said, I think it's best enjoyed without any preconceptions going into it, so if you're already sold, I suggest turning off this video now. And for the 90% of you who couldn't give a fuck about some book and are just here to gawk at the flesh creature with Salmonella's voice as it gyres and gesticulates, you may be wondering what all this means for the state of the channel. Well, rest assured, things are business as usual, which is to say, I have nothing in the works, nothing even planned. Now that this is done, we'll see, but hey, in the meantime, if you're that desperate for content made by me, got about 250 pages of it right here, if you want. What kind of content? Let's talk about it. If you're allergic to spoilers, fucking... So, you may have noticed on the bookshelf behind me, some of the books are turned forward. Here, let me just get out of the way for a sec. I've put these books on display not only to hide my massive collection of smut, but also because they're some of my favorite pieces of fiction. Except for this one, I have not read a page, I just wanted you to know that I own it. Like I said, I was the only member of the target audience when I wrote this, but if you're into any of these, you might have similar tastes to me. So let's get into the world of Still Lost. I would not characterize it as dystopian. I think, we've had enough of that shit at this point. Certainly not utopian either. It's just kind of utopian. In some ways it's a bit worse than what we have today, but in other ways it's a bit better, There's universal health care and affordable housing, and the government provides frivolous, meaningless jobs to anyone who wants one. And, and a couple of years ago, a hyper-advanced alien race came down to solve all major existential threats to humanity. No more climate change, no more nuclear weapons, and no AI significantly more advanced than what we have today. Speaking of which, if you are currently wondering to yourself about what prompts I used to generate this book, you should kill yourself, probably. I shouldn't even have to say this, but no, AI was not used at any point in the creative process. Not in the ideas phase, not in the outline, not in the prose, not in the editing, not in the formatting, not on the cover, obviously. Zero, zip, zilch. Every word of every sentence is the product of careful deliberation on my part and my part alone. And if it sucks, it is because I am a flawed human being. I do use M dashes in a couple places, and that is because this is a goddamn book. And if you've just learned what an M dash is in the past year or so, I suggest reading more of them. But anyway, the aliens are really just to get you in the door. They only feature prominently in the first 2 stories. After that, they're just kind of there. Sometimes there's just a god on the street corner, and you walk by and it summons a hologram of your mom screaming at you, and you're just like, ugh, hate it when they do that. And you get on with your day. It's not a big deal. But all in all, things are simply different in 2080, and people are not any happier whatsoever. Hence the title. Now onto the story. So Still Lost contains a whopping 8 stories in total. They are fairly long, short stories. If we go strictly off word count, most of them are technically novelettes, which, allows them to be a little more character-driven, do a little more exploration of the world, and have a little more irrelevant bullshit sprinkled into them. You'll notice by the Neil Stevenson corner up here that I'm a fan of irrelevant bullshit. I believe that as long as a sequence is interesting or entertaining in its own right, it deserves to exist. As a result, fair amount of unkilled darlings within these pages. If you are a fan of concise, straightforward plots, this might not be the thing for you. Of course, I do try on a few different hats between the stories. Some are more genre, some are more literary, some are actiony, some are more thinky. So, there's different things for different tastes in here. You will definitely like some of them more than others. Anyway, I'm just going to briefly touch on each one, give you the general premise. This is my head, by the way. It's meh. I hope it's not a deal breaker. I'm just showing it to you now so that you would click on this video and I could sell you something. So the first story serves as kind of a prologue. It takes place in 2078 and it goes through the entirety of the invasion. These creatures show up and they do some peculiar things, the details of which are on a need-to-know basis, and the protagonist is a general in the US military who is tasked with killing what are essentially gods. And you can imagine how that goes, but to save you some time, I've imagined it for you. Next one is titled Xenos, which is the very creative name these creatures are given. It stars a graduate student in molecular biology who has recently pivoted into the new field of xenostudies. So she wants to learn more about alien physiology, so naturally she goes to visit a xenoprostitute, and they don't fuck. Alright? Look, if any of you book talk people are wondering about the spice level of this book, we're sitting at about a black pepper. Sex exists in this universe, you don't see much of it, right? There's alien on human implied, human on robot implied, baboon on baboon depicted. But that's it, none of that weird human on human shit. Ugh. They do say write what you know after all. I've noticed that certain genre authors have this habit of putting lots of sucking and fucking in their book in order to convince themselves and others it's for adults. I did not feel the need to do that, nor did the urge strike me at any time to describe how a woman breasted boobily down the stairs. I do talk about ball sacks a couple of times. I go into a fair amount of detail about the texture and color of men's scrotums on multiple occasions. But that's it, only men objectified in this work, rest assured. So that's the second story. The third one is called Being a Nothingness. It is a loose parody of the 1938 philosophical novel Nausea by Jean-Paul Sartre, which everybody has been asking for. This is definitely one of the more pensive ones. As a result, my beta readers were not big fans. The story also contains a realistic depiction of a panic attack, which at the time of writing I did not realize had become a cliche, so apologies in advance if that particular mental illness is too played out for you at this point. What else we got? This next one's called Eggs for Roman. It is about a baboon that gets human intelligence and then he gets cyberbullied. After that is Four Little Words, which is just an 8-page discussion about grass and the nature of grass, and blood is spilled. After that is Bloodstreams. It's about a guy who goes around killing old people with a sword for fun and profit, and he doesn't learn anything or grow as a person or any kind of stupid shit like that. He just kills and rambles, and I genuinely think it's one of the stronger works in this collection. Number 7 is called The Prophet. It's about a guy who can predict the future by shoving the entirety of the internet into his head. And because this takes place in the real world, said individual works at a consulting firm. And the protagonist is a CTO of a cybersecurity company who gets a prophecy from this guy and doesn't quite buy it, and some intrigue happens. A little too much intrigue if you ask me, but this one got away from me a little, that's fine. And the last one is mostly fiction, and we'll leave it at that. So if any of that is of any interest to you, please give it a shot. There's 8 stories. You're bound to like one of them. Let me know what you think. I'll be reading as many reviews as I can and trying my best to not take them extremely personally. Depending on the content of those reviews, I will be encouraged or discouraged to make another book. We shall decide the arc of my life based on the opinions of you motherfuckers. Until then, I'll see you on the next thing I'm doing. We'll see what it is. Might be a fucking mural. I don't know, dude. What's next? Carve my name on the moon. And I'm really trying to promote the hell out of this thing. So if you've got a podcast or something, I am kind of hard to get a hold of, and that is by design, but I have set up a business email, which can be found in the front cover of this book. Gotcha, bitch!